adequately about that poem.
Interesting. It is also true, though, that this book is in many ways traditional. I mean, even your choice of poems, with the exception of some, you end with Joni Mitchell's Woodstock, which, you know, people might not think is a poem, but you use it as your last. But overall, you are not including here some of the so-called contemporary poetry that you find in Poetry Magazine, the really hot poets.
There are a
right
lot of
now.
omissions. There are some deliberate omissions.
Deliberate omissions.
Major omissions.
Yeah, and I wondered how conscious that was and what kind of response you've gotten from the poetry world.
Well, okay, in terms of modern poets who are deliberately not there, T.S. Eliot isn't there, Ezra Pound, right, Auden, okay, and there were poets I thought it were going to be in there, didn't make it. Elizabeth Bishop, okay, but the modern ones, I mean, really, there are wholesale exclusions like Ashbery. I mean, there's nothing I found I want to put. Seamus Heaney, forget it, nothing. Admired poets like Jory Graham, not for a second would any postmodernist, you know, piece of writing get into my work.
Now, why is that?
I abhor that stuff. I think it's pretentious crap.
So you feel it's overrated?
I think it's wildly overrated. Yeah. I think the language is dead as a doornail. I say in my introduction that anyone who does not listen to media, anyone who blocks out, for example, talk radio, which I listen to all the time, okay, who doesn't read newspapers and magazines, doesn't understand how English has evolved, okay? The language of Ashbery, the language of Jory Graham is dead, okay? Those poems are going to go right down into the garbage heap. Okay?
They're dead because they're too complicated?
It has nothing to do with English. It has nothing to do with current English. Nothing.
But you could say Wallace Stevens, Donne, they're difficult poets, too.
Late Stevens is not in here because I feel that he drifted away from a true, authentic poet. Late Stevens is what my mentor Harold Bloom most esteems. Okay,
yeah.
I feel that Shakespeare's language has not dated. The greatest poems.
So accessibility is important.
I feel that there is a line of vitality in English, writing in English, okay, and that so many of our writers today are the walking dead. They're living dead. Those poems are dead. But the Shakespeare sonnets are alive. But Wordsworth is alive. Blake is alive. Right?
What makes something alive?
What can I say? There is something. There's a living lineage, a living tradition of English poetry. Okay, this is why we did not need post-structuralism. There's something that's going on in English poetry, okay, that makes us able to appreciate Donne and Shakespeare, okay, and also the Yeats poems like The Second Coming, almost a century old now, a poem that is so amazingly now in its language, so contemporary. It's as if it's a media language, the same thing, okay. And I looked, by the way, for other political poems. I could find nothing. No one has written an adequate political poem, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I mean, when I went back, I thought that I remembered strong political writing from hearing it in the '60s in those anti-war readings. I looked for it. I wanted it for this book.
Ginsberg is not in here.
Ginsberg, to me, that is a pity because Ginsberg influenced me profoundly in terms of.
There's no short poem, is there? Yeah.
The only short poem I found was a poem about Marlene Dietrich, okay, and I was tempted to put it in, and I thought, oh, everyone's going to say I put it in because it's about a star, which is probably true. Yeah. But I could find no way to adequately abridge Howl, which I would have wanted to have put in here. I mean, I did do it with Whitman. I was able to succeed with Whitman, but I felt it didn't work with Howl. That when I took the first 90 lines or whatever of Howl, it just came off as sensationalistic. Okay. Yeah. And so that to me is a great omission because Allen Ginsberg was such an important figure in terms of being a mediation between poetry and African American music, jazz at its bop phase, and the rhythms, the body language of beat reading is so close to me. So my only beat things in there would be like Paul Blackburn, and I do feel that the Ralph Pomeroy poem at the end, Corner, is actually a beat poem.
Do you think that some of this energy or this life that you talk about in poetry has moved into music and into, say, things like hip-hop and so forth, and that's where it is? It's not that poetry is dead in your terms, but rather that it's migrated?
Yes, so that's where poetry is in popular music. It's in song lyrics, which is why I invented a course called the Art of Song Lyrics for the University of the Arts to help student musicians to develop their lyrics. Certainly, poetry slams have revived now, thanks to hip-hop and rap. I'm a little critical of the quality of rap lyrics lyrics insofar as they don't transfer well to the page, but that is a demand that is simply inadequate, okay, for a living performance genre like hip hop. You can't say, oh, this doesn't work on the page, right?
That's not the medium.
It shouldn't be a requirement. On the other hand, I have to say that I think if hip hop, masters thought more about looking at their lyrics on the page, they would start to see that there are places that they can improve, okay? That I think that hip-hop should not simply be improv and that's it, okay? That there should be a second stage of edit, and there is no second stage of edit right now, okay? So that's nothing I'm trying to encourage. I'm saying anybody who's interested in posterity, maybe you're not. Maybe you just want to impress an audience who comes out for a slam on a Friday night. Fine, okay?
Yeah.
But you want your work to die with you, or do you want to possibly communicate with those who are not at the slam, okay? People out there, the larger audience, okay? In which case, you're going to have to start to think about working on it. And if you're going to work on it, you got to look at it, okay? All right, and then transfer it to the page.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Only a great genius like a Bob Dylan, who was fueled at a certain moment by methamphetamine, as he was during his electric phase, right, can produce a lyric that can improv that will transfer to the page, as Desolation Row does. It takes us 3 class days to deal with that great poem.
You didn't put Dylan in here, did you?
No, I didn't. No, I did not, because. I do feel that it would be Desolation Row, and it's too long.
Too long.
Yeah. But even Subterranean Homesick Blues works fabulous, which is a kind of a rap song. When the kids look at it on the page, and perhaps someday I should do a song lyrics book. It would be incredibly expensive to do because of the copyright costs and fees. But I think that there are some lyrics that do transfer well to the page, and, including many from the ballad tradition, and the ones from coming right out of Appalachia.
Right, and also you could go back to ballads, earlier ballads. You don't have to be contemporary.
Definitely.
Now, do you write poetry?
I did when I was young. I did in high school and I did in college. Okay, but the kind of poetry that I was writing, there was a pivotal moment. Okay, where the literary magazine wasn't interested in what I was writing. I said, I don't want to write poetry. It can't say enough for me. And I transferred my interest in poetry to nonfiction writing. And there's no doubt that my concern in writing with texture and with imagery, with the le mot juste, with working with the dictionary and Roget's and all the things I do as a writer, that it's really, I've transferred it. I've really kind of, it's like a loam. Poetry's kind of loam, okay, in nonfiction writing. So I consider myself a writer, okay, in many ways. And it's really Europeans who see me more as a writer.
In that belles lettres tradition.
Yeah, they recognize that I'm a writer, that I'm not just an academic, and that I'm not just an intellectual. I'm also a writer, committed writer.
Okay. Actually, on that score, I was going to ask you about, your mentor, Harold Bloom, had this theory, which has been disseminated far and wide, about the anxiety of influence, that the strong poet misreads the strong poet that preceded him in order to clear the space and have his own. Do you feel that's true for critics, and do you feel there's any sense in which you yourself are a strong critic who has had to clear the space of past voices, and you certainly have made a space for yourself as a critic.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I absolutely. I mean, it was unusual for a woman, even in the '60s, okay, to have this the driving ambition, okay, to clear a space. Absolutely, I have the sense of competition.
And who did you have to? I don't know. Misread is maybe not the right word, but who did you have to kill?
Well, I've had a funny running feud with Susan Sontag.
That's right.
Yes,
Susan Sontag.
who didn't? I mean, she didn't really influence me, because by the time she came on the scene, it was already late college.
She annoyed you, right?
Yeah. The thing is, she was the model for me, though, of the kind of public intellectual who deals well with media and so on, and who takes great photographs and so on. So that it was really her persona as a media personality that was influential on me. But her writing itself, I mean, she was interested in the same thing as I was. Right?
She was like a sort of predecessor to you.
Oh yes,
in
there's
that
absolutely
sense.
no doubt. So when I came on the scene, and she we had this kind of running feud. It was hilarious. And I wrote an essay called "Sontag, Bloody Sontag," recounting all this. And I said that I would hope that the day comes that when my successor manifests herself, that I will not be so ungenerous, okay, to her as Sontag was to me.
And how was she ungenerous to you?
Oh, it's a long story. You must read that essay. It's hilarious.
I will. So
it's hilarious.
Sontag,
Bloody Sontag, and Vamps and Tramps. And the thing is, the legal department at Random House had a red line, 1/3 of that, because she's so litigious. So there's 1/3 of that is missing. Okay, so but
did you ever appear together?
Good Lord, no, we met once when I invited her to Bennington. Oh my gosh, no, we never, the idea of us ever even crossing paths, I mean, we would have been like, who knows what would have happened.
Well, it's interesting though, I mean, I was a little worried about interviewing you because I thought maybe you'd be scary. No, but let me say, because you can be quite, brutal when it comes to ideas and trends and so forth. But then I calmed down when I read you more closely and realized that you're kind to individuals. I mean, I think that maybe that's something that...
Well, not to the establishment. Personally, I was not kind, let's say, to many a senior professor at Harvard, Princeton, Berkeley. I mean, I have been
by
ruthless.
Name? Really?
By name.
See, I didn't see that.
I've been ruthless toward them.
But you felt they could handle it.
The fat cats sitting on their gigantic salaries? Oh, definitely. I'm like I'm going around pricking their balloon. Oh, absolutely. I made their life miserable.
But overall, you do see the humanity behind, I mean, the fact that there can be something in writing and then there's the person behind it that's not always the same.
Well, I've kind of knocked Naomi Wolf around. I mean, it's been kind of I've kind of enjoyed, being raining on her parade for about 15 years now.
I guess she has been, so you've been her nemesis.
Yes, I've been her nemesis. Right, yeah. I mean, I think I kind of enjoy, I mean, I like the idea of the feud because when I was young.
You like a good feud?
I mean, I think it's very entertaining. I mean, I thought it was fabulous. I mean, when you had that, the whole thing between Lillian Hellman, and Mary McCarthy, I thought it was fabulous. And back in the day, when you had Joan Fontaine versus Olivia de Havilland, her own sister, or Joan Crawford versus Betty Davis, or Maria Callas, versus everyone, I mean, something great. I think it brings
dramatic.
It brings that ideas, the world of ideas, to life, and I think that you should have a strong sense. I mean, it's like the old days. There was a period of great German professors, where they also feuded with each other in classics, and great wars went on. Nietzsche versus this one versus that one.
And wasn't there Gore Vidal and Norman Mailer? Didn't they have a great one?
Yes.
It was on Dick Cavett.
This is what I was brought up watching. I loved it. Yeah. It was absolutely fabulous.
So who is Naomi Wolf the best that you can come up with?
Well, Me versus Susan Sontag has been of great entertainment value, I think, to people. Okay, plus I wrote about it. And then, but this thing with Naomi is ongoing. Okay, because people just called me out for a comment. Like, for example, the New York Observer called me and said, "We want to tell you, okay, Naomi Wolf is coming out like a New York Magazine cover story saying that 18 years ago, Harold Bloom put his hand on her." And I said, "What?" Okay, so I gave them fabulous quotes. Okay, and they went out around the world. They were quoted. I mean, with the web, you see, you can get these things. And so it's with the web. I think it's important to give life to ideas, okay, and that you give that schools of ideas are, it's serious. It's serious. Ideas are serious business, okay, and that you should put your money where your mouth is. They're worth fighting about, and I think there should be a theater of ideas embodied in people, okay, So Susan Sontag wouldn't play, though. I mean, she wouldn't play the game. No,
what about Maureen Dowd? Have you had any kind of thoughts on her?
Well, I don't respect her very much. I think that she has a tremendous opportunity as a woman, okay, in the New York Times, okay, to be an analyst and I think that she descends to a kind of sorority girl, cheap shot again and again and again. And when I've expressed this, people go mad. I mean, people go absolutely ballistic. She has a tremendous following on the East Coast, at least. No, I mean she stayed away from me. I think she's afraid of me. She's had a few pricks, okay, at me, and I've slapped her around a little bit in the salon. But I think that she keeps her distance.
What about the thesis?
Because she's a personally timid person, and I think that's what they fear with me. They fear with me that I'm going to turn up on their doorstep, which is something to fear because I am Italian American. I've gotten physical fights in my life. In fact, that's how I ended up leaving Bennington. Okay, it was a big fist fight at a dance. Okay,
that's the subject for another interview.
I've kicked people. I mean, you could go on, okay, and so on. I'm a physical person. There's no doubt, okay. So they're right to and that's why I rarely get any hate mail. People think you must get a lot of hate mail. No, not at all. I make an anonymous thing. That's it. No, the people are afraid. I get the crazy fan mail. Okay,
so they're afraid because they're afraid of what you might do.
Yes, there's some sense that I'm an unguided Italian missile. Okay, and that you watch out because I have the gift of the feud. I mean, how like the art of the deal. Okay,
so you have fans. You have groupies.
I have fans, but people know that Italians invented the vendetta, okay, right? And that I have like 30-year-long things, you know, so on. And yeah, I mean, it's an Italian-American gift, really, the vendetta.
Okay, well,
all right.
That's good to know.
All right.
Anyway, I want to say that this has been just a great interview.
Well, thank you, Paula.
I wish we could go on.
It's been a pleasure.
So thank you for being here.
It's been great.
And thank you for joining us today at the Drexel interview.